Hello, I am Kate Hartley, for those of you who don't know me yet, and I'm today going to be talking about belly fat, busting the belly fat myth, and also how living with toxic people might be contributing to your spare tire. So, I talk a lot about menopause, and a lot of this does tie into menopause. However, belly fat is a bit of an issue of its own. Now, the myth is that if you eat less and if you work out more, you will lose your belly fat. Actually, it's not as simple as that because belly fat is a hormonal issue and it's largely related to the hormone called cortisol, which is one of our stress hormones. The fat around our belly has 4 times the amount of receptors for cortisol than it does anywhere in our body. So when we're in stress, that's why we tend to hang on to belly fat. Now, just linking that into menopause, because I do talk a lot about menopause, it's a time in our life when we're experiencing a lot of stress on all different levels. Lack of sleep, hot flushes, feeling awful, sudden anxiety, sudden anger bursts, changes in the dynamics of our relationships. We might be becoming empty nesters. We're at that age where you just think, oh shit, I've not done it yet. How, my time is ticking away. And all these things lead to greater stress. I think there's also with menopause. I'm not going to talk a lot about menopause, but I just want to go on to this is identity. Who are we? All you may have been a mother all your life. You'll always be a mother, but your role changes. You're not needed as a mother quite so much once we hit those sort of midlife years. How does the relationship with your significant other change? Do you want to try and find work and you can't because you're too old and no employer will take you on? And there is, and I think we just, like that midlife crisis thing. I think we think, Jeepers creepers, I've not achieved what I want to achieve yet. How the heck am I going to achieve what I need to achieve? And it does heap a whole lot of stress on us. But I actually want to focus specifically on sharing things with you that are going to help you reduce your belly fat and reduce the stress in your life. And also just very briefly how to sort of cope with toxic people, because you might be stuck with somebody or a range of people who are toxic to you. And I'm just going to give you a few strategies. Okay, so first and foremost, the myth. Said it already, dieting, that makes the body think I'm being starved. Well, when we're starved, we're stressed. So that's why deprivation doesn't work. That's why the nutrition programs that I use, they do not focus on deprivation. I could not do them. I love food. I absolutely adore food. I get a lot of pleasure from food. I use food as fuel, not as comfort, but I still get a lot of pleasure from fueling my body the right way. Now, if you're trying to limit the food, it might be that you need to change what you're eating. So if you have if you live on donuts and pizza, it's not going to be great for the body as a whole. You're going to be putting it into nutritional stress. So you want to be adding more vegetables to your diet, some more fruit, and reducing those sort of things that are going to be spiking your blood sugars for a start, which is going to make you release more cortisol, which you're going to be stressed. And also cortisol has an impact on our proteins, which makes us turns our protein into glucose, which spikes our blood sugar. So it affects the insulin levels in our bodies, and also insulin is our fat storing hormone. So it's a bit of a double whammy. So nutritional stress is something you do need to focus on. Water in particular as well. Our bodies are made up of so much water. Most of us don't actually drink enough. Again, if you're menopausal, you're having hot flashes, you need to be drinking more water. Falling estrogen levels also mean that we have a greater tendency to become dehydrated faster. So just to sort of a very brief way of telling you how much water you should ideally be drinking, you take your weight in pounds, divide that by 2, and the answer is the amount of fluid ounces of water you should try and drink every day. So for instance, if you weigh 140 pounds, you should be looking to drink 70 fluid ounces of water. But like I say, if you're menopausal, if you're having hot flashes, I'm having one right at the moment, you need to drink more water. Also, if you live in a hot climate or a significantly cold climate, you would dehydrate faster. So, make sure you're drinking more water. It's really, really important for our joint health, our bone health, or just our cellular health on every level. Exercise is another thing. So you may find that through the sort of your younger years, you've done a lot of cardio, you're a long distance runner, you're a sprinter, what a CrossFit fanatic, and all of a sudden you're finding that this isn't working for you anymore. You can, you're getting bigger, you can see the belly fat going on. The reason for that is because, again, it's linked to our cortisol levels. As we're getting older, as our human growth hormone slows down, as our whole body tends to slow down, metabolism starting to slow down a little bit, um, it's really important that we change our workout routine. So instead of having so much cardio, you want to be focusing on weight training, strength training. Doesn't mean lifting a massive bar with weights at the gym. It just means getting some dumbbells. The sorts of workouts that I do, they incorporate some cardio, but not a huge amount of cardio. There's quite a lot of strength training and core work involved as well. And all that, even strength training is a sort of cardio, particularly if you're doing things like squats and lunges, which are using the large muscles of the body. That's going to spike your heart rate, but it's going to keep it in a healthy range. So you're not going to be like releasing loads and loads of cortisol. So you do actually need to change up your workout routine. A lot of the ladies that I work with in my online Fittish Fit Club, I call it the Fittish Fit Club. We're a Fittish Fit Club of fitsters, because, make sure you don't misspell the last word, it's not all about being super fit and, just Mr. or Mrs. Athlete. It's about being happy in your body, feeling energized and comfortable with who you are. And I think there's a lot of can be quite intimidating, health and fitness. And it's really important that you start where the level is right for you and that you find fun in it as well. Like I say, our community of Fittish Fitsters, we have a lot of fun together and we share each other's trials and tribulations. And I think, you need to make sure that you get access to a workout that has a good combination of different elements in it, so that you're not over stressing one particular body part. So, maybe you might do a legs workout or a lower body workout one day. The next day you might do an upper body workout. The day after that you might do some light cardio. The day after that might be core, and the day after that might be a total body. Or you may indeed have a rest day. It's important that we have our rest days as well. So just, that is another thing with belly fat in particular. It might be that you're doing too much cardio and you're putting too much stress on the body. So just going back to that cortisol thing again, it is all stress. So whether that's dehydration, whether it's too much of the wrong type of exercise, whether it's the wrong kind of food. Now I'm going to move into those stressors that are really tough to get rid of if you're living with somebody who's toxic to your environment, or that you work with somebody who's toxic, similar sort of thing. I would say, with my psychotherapist hat on, first and foremost, know your boundaries, know what your values are. If you're not entirely sure of what your top values are, I've got an awesome values sheet I can send to you. So message me if you want that. It will really help you break down what your sort of top 10 values are. And once you've identified those, it's actually really easy to then think, that's why I respond in such a way to that, because that's one of my top values. And the person that you're living with or that you're working with, that might not be one of their top values. So there's that sort of conflict that's going on. And it's just a really good way of helping you understand why you behave in a certain way, but also why other people behave in a certain way. I think we have this thing, it's really hard sometimes to think that your opinion has to be right. We all are entitled to our opinion, and there is nothing to say that one opinion has any more value or weight over another person's opinion. But we tend to get defensive, and I think that sort of that comes really from a point of a feeling of lack of self-worth, because we've become defensive rather than embracing another person's opinion and listening to their opinion and maybe even learning from their opinion. We take it from a point of defense, and we're just like, already we've decided it's no before we've even heard it. That is one strategy I do suggest, is to listen to somebody that you find difficult to deal with, because it might just be that they have a different set of values. Now, if they do have a different set of values, it's really important that their values or their lack of values are not impinging on your value system. Our values really are our core. And if you've drawn a line in the sand, stick to that line. Don't keep moving, rubbing out that one line and jumping back a couple of feet to accommodate somebody else. If that's why it's really important that you know what your values are, so that you can maintain your boundaries and understand why you're maintaining them. Now, God, I mean, then I would imagine this year has been frightful for people who don't get on well, who've been stuck together in these so-called bubbles because of COVID-19. There are certain things that you can do to help that matter. Now, you might not be able to turn off that person, but what you can do is focus on relaxation techniques for yourself. So that is taking time out to meditate or deep breathe. Breathing is incredibly important for us. Deep breathing particularly, it stimulates the vagus nerve. It helps to stimulate the parasympathetic nervous system, which is the nervous system that's kind of working in the background to keep things calm. Eat foods high in magnesium and potassium. So lots of dark green leafy vegetables are really good. Fruits as well to a certain degree. Nuts, seeds, those sorts of things, like whole wheat, whole grain, are going to be beneficial to you managing stress better. Also, get outside. Nature, being outdoors in nature, there's something really calming about it. But a lot of that is also due to the fact that we get ultraviolet from the sky, if you're lucky. I live in Cornwall now. We don't get much ultraviolet here. It rains all the time. But vitamin D is incredibly important for our nervous system. And also it helps you create serotonin, which is one of our feel-good hormones. And we need serotonin to create melatonin, which is our sleep hormone. So on top of that, you don't want to be adding bad sleep to this stress, because also bad sleep we have different types of fat as well. So we have white fat and brown and beige fat. White fat doesn't burn up many calories. Brown and beige fat does. And when we sleep well, we actually can turn some of that white fat into brown or beige fat, which is ideally what we want to do, as well as obviously that's when the body recuperates. And I really understand that when you're under high stress and maybe menopausal, sleep is really hard to come by. Right now, my sleep is just so erratic, and I'm really noticing the differences. So what I'm doing daily is I'm making sure I'm doing my workouts. I'm trying to, I think one of my reasons is I'm not eating enough stuff regularly. So my sort of, my blood sugars are a bit up and down. I do have a slight issue with that toxic person thing going on as well. So I can identify with those of you who are going through something similar. And it does have a constant sort of knock-on effect to your stress levels. So just, be aware that you may not be able to change that person's behavior, but you can control to a degree how you let it affect you. And the other thing I'd say, once lockdown's over or you're able to, bloody well get out if you're able to. Remove yourself from that situation. Nobody has the right to niggle away at your sense of self and your sanity on a prolonged basis unless you give them permission to do that. And ultimately that falls down to us again. So again, it's about maintaining our boundaries. And lastly is understand that person's capacity. So it might be if that person has some behavioral issues, they may have some addictions, they may be under an awful lot of stress themselves due to life circumstances affecting them too. So, sometimes I think we can be unfair when we have an opinion over somebody who actually isn't working at full capacity. They're not functioning at full capacity. And as niggling and as frustrating and as annoying as it can be, if that individual doesn't have the full suitcase of things that we have to take that into consideration as well. And I think, the reason that you want to do that is because it doesn't change maybe the stress that person causes to your life. It might just change how you view that stress affecting you. So they're doing those things because they have these problems. And because they're not necessarily looking to harm you or hurt you, they're hurting so badly themselves that it's being translated as to negative and toxic behavior towards you. So bear that in mind as well. But ultimately, just to summarize, your belly fat is stress related. It's cortisol related. And I also don't want you to think that cortisol is a bad thing. Cortisol is actually very important for our bodies. It's anti-inflammatory. When we have low cortisol, that's when we see autoimmune disorders arise. We're constantly fatigued. Funnily enough, you get a lot of similar symptoms for high cortisol as well as you do low cortisol. But low cortisol is, you'll see more inflammation. You know, if you ever have something like eczema or an allergy, you'll be given something like prednisone. That is cortisol. It's anti-inflammatory. So it's really important that we don't try and avoid cortisol at all costs, because it's a very important part of our body, and it has lots of different uses within the body. But just know that too much of it over a prolonged period of time is going to be negative for you. And if you're seeing the belly fat go on, I would certainly take an inventory of where stress is appearing in your life. Sit down for half an hour and just write it out. Do a brainstorm, just do a brain dump. What is causing you stress in your life? And then separate those things. What do you have control over so that you can make changes? And what don't you have control over so that you almost release giving energy to those things that are causing you that stress? And for the things that are causing you stress that you have no control over, you can still meditate. You can do gentle exercise like Pilates. You can get out into nature and walk. You can do deep breathing exercises. These are all going to stimulate the parasympathetic nervous system that are going to help you cope better with stress. And also, just to add quickly, when you have managed to eradicate some elements of stress in your life, it will give you a sense of self-empowerment, which is brilliant. You know, that's lovely in and of itself. But it's almost like we have a bucket, and the rim of the bucket is filled with our energy resources. And you know, if you're using energy, or if you're wasting some of your energy because of things that you can make a change, so you can vary up your workout regimen, you can drink more water, you can get to bed earlier and stop watching the final several series of the box set or whatever it might be. You can cut out some of the sweet stuff that you're eating. That's going to give you more energy left in that bucket to deal with the things that you have no control over. So it is about taking an inventory of the things that cause you stress so that you can then work on reducing how you respond and incorporating stress relieving activities into your daily schedule. So I hope that's helped clarify that. I know so many of the people that I talk to, belly fat is one of their main concerns. It is hormone related, it's stress related, and there is a lot that you can do to help shift it. So if you've got any questions, if you've got any comments, please get back in touch with me. I've got all sorts of things and resources that I can share with you. Just get in touch. Let's start a conversation, and then I can help point you in a direction that might be beneficial to you. So if I don't hear from you before, have an awesome Christmas. Stay safe, and keep washing your hands, wear your mask. We'll get there. Thank you.